I have a spot for that shrink bench on 23rd Street, right outside my office. Several of us will occupy it, and there's plenty of people on the street who would help us. I also wanted to remind any friends of mine who are in the audience to make sure to shoot me if I say that I'm going to attend that Harvard Symposium on Nature, because I'm going to blow my brains out, I know, if I attend it. So just so that you know where I stand very quickly. I also was very interested in the 3 Ordos projects that we saw, which are fascinating to me because I love the idea of these amazing young architects getting a chance to build something, to work with forms, with ideas, with all that kind of wonderful, wonderful creativity. However, what came to mind was, how far does that quail have to fly in order to land on that table in Ordos? And how much energy are we willing to pay for that quail to get there? So I think those questions are not exactly without merit, and so we need to ask them, if for nothing else, ethically. So as a design editor, I'm in the business of reading the signs in the form of reoccurring conversations, such as they're happening here, and elsewhere in newspapers. I get thousands of newspapers from all over the world by the web site that brings it to me. So it's really interesting to see the conversations going on around the world, and there's some very reoccurring themes that we are seeing, and every day, every time you check into these resources. So some of them obviously were mentioned here, and that's good because we are talking about some of these same issues. One of the questions, I made 10 questions for myself because I think there were 10 commandments, so we might as well have 10 questions. So how to make cities walkable, and how to design streets for people and not cars. This is a huge question of our time. And also, some of the subsets of great 21st century city building include how to make communities that celebrate diversity of age, of ability, of culture, and income. And I mean the idea of accessibility that has been brought up before. We have this wonderful piece of legislation that is almost 20-year-old, the Americans with Disabilities Act, a civil rights legislation. It's pretty much used as a joke by architects and designers. It's dismissed as compliance. There's no systems thinking applied to any of it, and I think we need to provide whole systems of thought around accessibility for everyone. If my hotel room door has the Braille sign, and there's no way that I could get there if I do not have sight, that is a non-working system. It is not a system. It is a carbuncle that should not be there. So let's think about these things much more carefully than we're thinking. Of late, the federal government has joined the discussion about cities, about places, about design. For instance, the new White House Office on Urban Affairs is charged with bringing the best local ideas about city building to a national forum. And that assumes, like Maurice was saying, that there's some amazingly important local ideas that are to be shared, discussed, and adapted to each area, each city. In the stimulus package, $16 billion are dedicated for green buildings and retrofits to our aging, energy-guzzling, toxic building stock that exists today. And $140 million is dedicated to integrate transportation, housing, and environmental innovations. So there is a lot of money out there that is looking for innovation and looking for the design community to become part of the larger national dialogue. We hear a lot of talk about how to achieve full carbon neutrality in building and construction without resorting to carbon offsets. That's a long-term conversation. how to make products that are turned into our technical material stream to make new products and therefore create new job opportunities and new jobs themselves. How to expunge formaldehyde, ethylene, and other toxins from our hotel rooms, our conference rooms, our workplaces, our homes. How to make living buildings whose facades respond to local conditions of sun, wind, and air quality. And ways to make buildings that are self-sustaining off the grid in their water and energy systems. How to make schools, the buildings, the grounds, the neighborhoods they're in, connect kids to nature and its processes as examples in the study of the natural sciences. Schools whose architecture, interiors, graphics, and landscaping can teach children about connectivity to each other and to the environment are the desired buildings today. How to fully include the new generation of students and young architects and designers, this environmentally conscious, phenomenally tech-savvy, and highly connected generation in the teaching of design. Yes, the students being part of the teaching of design. In the practice of design offices, yes, more than doorknob detailers, these people have much more to offer. What they bring us is a rich mix of concerns, skills, and ideas that are essential to building the future. They bring the breath of the 21st century into the room. We all need to breathe that air. How to expand the new generation's design activism into existing professional offices, which are now seriously reconsidering themselves, rethinking everything that they do. For years now, crowds of young people show up at talks given by Cameron Sinclair, founder of Architecture for Humanity. His book was mentioned here yesterday. Design Like You Give a Damn is now in its 5th printing, almost unheard of for design or architecture books in design publishing. In landscape design, there's Fritz Haig, who works with suburban homeowners to turn their useless, water and chemical-dependent front lawns into beautiful, healthy, and healthful, productive gardens. In his book, Edible Estates, Attack on the Front Lawn, is now that book is going into its 2nd printing. So again, a design book that has use, that has ideas behind it, that people gravitate to, gets public reaction and is able to survive. In product design, there is the fearless and very young Emily Piloton, who just released the book Design Revolution: 100 Products That Changed the World. That book, that discussion about design revolution is currently burning up the blogosphere. YouTube, Twitter, other social networks are chatting about it. In fact, even before writing the book, Emily got the word out about design activism in industrial design through social networking outlets. So she's a complete creature of the 21st century who communicates exactly the way you all, if you are students, are doing today, and you probably will be doing in the next century. But Emily is not solely a creature of distance communication. Like Cameron Sinclair and Fritz Haig, she takes her ideas, her passionate commitment to broaden the reach of industrial designers to people that can create change. So the next spring, if you see an Airstream parked in one of the parking lots here, that's Emily coming to campus to encamp and decamp and show some of the products that she thinks can change the world and products that are necessary and much needed. Some of the products that she talks about are the products that Maurice showed, the Life Straw and the Hippo Roller. Both were designed to bring water to parched sub-Saharan regions, and both are absolutely necessary and giving a new meaning to life, in fact, giving life. Emily will run workshops for students and teachers, by the way, and I think teachers probably need it more than the students, I'm sorry to say, on campuses that she visits, and she'll get everyone involved, like all great design activists get people involved. Architecture offices of all sizes are asking themselves how to get involved in the BIM revolution. It has been mentioned several times. Building information modeling may be dismissed by some architects as a bookkeeping tool or as mere technology, while some of the brightest architects today are figuring out how to profit from providing services, BIM services. Sharples, Holden, Pasquarelli, and I'm not sure Greg Pasquarelli would have mentioned this in this academic environment if he had shown up, but Sharp has established Sharp Construction, and they're offering their technical knowledge, which is phenomenal already, but their technical knowledge of efficient building and construction management for large firms that have fewer tech-savvy people than they do. Teams of architects, but more than a mere tool, BIM is a software helping people to collaborate and create trust-based collaborations, trust-based ways of making buildings. That's something new. Teams of architects, landscape architects, engineers, interior designers, contractors, and subcontractors are working together early in the project. Design decisions are made with full understanding of costs and performance. This signals a cultural change from adversarial to collaborative ways of making buildings. It remains to be seen how design fares and how all of this will shake out, but that's the future, and you will all figure this one out. And finally, the question of how to understand design history and learn from it must be asked and asked again and asked again and again. Each summer, I spend time in Italian hill towns observing ingenious solutions devised through the centuries. Solutions to water flows and retention, shading and cooling, incorporating glorious panorama views with intimate settings. Our architects also travel to the same hill towns. Then they built faceless, placeless structures that could be anywhere. History, if it's learned and if it's thought about and if it's experienced and if it's used, as Will Bruder showed us yesterday, history has a lot to teach us about the future. It's not a boring accumulation of facts and figures, but a grand story of human endeavor and accomplishment. It is the beginning, and let us just remember what sometimes we like to say, the past is prologue. Thank you.